Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I am finally, unbelievably late, bringing you my Week 11 team building analysis from the Pokemon Premier League. Yes, indeed. Now, I'm well aware that this is stupidly late. Like, the season is well over. You'll notice I have a haircut now. This entire series of videos is going to be post the game that happened. I have been super busy. I have not had time to record these videos. I am like, overall on my channel, I am like 13 videos behind where I wanted to be on this day right now. So yeah, it's been a very busy time. But I am finally going to be bringing you this video to say this is happening after the fact. The game has happened long ago. But we're going to get into it, and instead of my predictions of what is going to happen, I'm going to be taking you sort of through my predictions of what I thought would happen at the time of building this team for my final match of the PPL Season 3. And my final opponent was none other than Necrostevo, the man with the golden voice, and the Eterna City Enders, and we were out for revenge after last season's game, which was an absolute train wreck. We prepped horribly, we played horribly, Stevo played very well and prepped very well, and it just all went horribly, spectacularly wrong in that game. So we are out for revenge against the Eterna City Enders. We are sitting at 4 and 6, so we really do need to win because, you know, at the time we weren't out of contention for relegation, or at the very least out of contention for the playoff match, which is not something we wanted. We wanted to finish in the top half of the table. A win would guarantee that pretty much. So, the Eterna City Enders. Let's take you through the team that Necrostevo could have picked from, and that is as follows: Clefable, Scizor, Mega-Scizor, Chandelure, Slowking, Pangoro, Zygarde, Rotom-Wash, and Caracosta. One of the strangest drafts, I think we would all agree, of the season. Some really interesting stuff in there. You don't see Mega-Scizor sort of really ever. It was a very cool pick. People were surprised when he picked it round 3. You got stuff like Chandelure, which can be cool. Pangoro is a really cool pick. And he managed to build around a very significant fire weakness very well indeed. Picking up stuff like, as I say, the aforementioned Chandelure, Slowking in there as well, Rotom-Wash too. So it's a difficult team to prep for. He's got these very sort of standard threats like Clefable and Scizor. Slowking has been putting in the finest of work in this kind of format. And he's got some fairly uncharted stuff in the form of Mega-Scizor, and again, some cool threats going on there as well. So, not going to be an easy team to beat, but let me take you through the team that I decided to bring against Necrostevo. And first up, we had Blaziken, my MVP of the season at that point, with 11 KOs, and I believe 6 or 5 deaths at the time. So really putting in the finest. I've been really happy with how Blaziken has been performing. We decided to bring an Adamant Blaziken with a Pasho Berry, Flare Blitz, High Jump Kick, Knockoff, and Poison Jab. As I say, max attack, max speed, Adamant. Now, the Pasho Berry on there because Necro, he does have 3 water types on his roster. He will be expecting me to bring the Blaziken because of his quad weaknesses to fire, and the fact that nothing particularly enjoys taking hits from this too much. You know, there's very little that does. But, you know, he's got these powerful water types. So I wanted to have a Pasho Berry on there. You know, he's got Slowking and Rotom-Wash, both of whom will take a hit from Blaziken. And he's got Caracosta, who might not take a high jump kick, but he does have a very powerful, spooky priority in the form of Aqua Jet. If he gets a Shell Smash up, we don't want to be taking those kind of hits. So the Pasho Berry is there for that. Flare Blitz, very, very much a standard move. He's got Scizor, he's got Mega-Scizor. It hits a lot of things very hard outside of those water types, and indeed the Zygarde. Now, High Jump Kick will hit most of those things. Knockoff, pretty much just there for the Slowking. It's also very nice for the Chandelure, who I'm kind of expecting because of its immunity to both of my stabs. And given that he'll be expecting Blaziken, I fully expect him to be bringing the Chandelure, but as ever, I'll get onto the team I expect him to bring towards the end of this video. The final move is Poison Jab. It's kind of tacked on there was nothing else I particularly needed. Now, it's there to hit the Clefable. I know that Flare Blitz will hit it harder, but when it comes down to it, if I want to preserve my HP and he's at range for Poison Jab, it's nice to have that option so that I don't have to take massive recall damage from the Flare Blitz. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the Blaziken. It's, as ever, going to be there to dish out massive damage to anything that it can hit. So, that's Blaziken. Next up, I wanted special offense, and that is going to come in the form of Mesprit. Mesprit, my transfer, who is putting in a really nice amount of work, currently sitting at 3-1 from 2 games. We've got a nice, powerful, massively offensive set here with the Life Orb. We've got Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, and Hidden Power Fire. 248 special attack, 12 special defense, 248 into speed with the Modest Nature. No stab here, once again, don't need it. I gain more from running 4 different moves with no stab to hit everything pretty much on his team. You know, Clefable is the only thing here I think I can't hit super effectively. You've got Hidden Power Fire for the Scizor, the Mega Abomasnow, Shadow Ball will be hitting the Chandelure and the Slowking, as will the Energy Ball. Energy Ball will also hit Rotomosh and Caracosta. Dazzling Gleam there for the Pangoro and the Zygarde. So as I say, other than Clefable, there's nothing there I can't hit super effectively with Mesprit. And that's basically, there's nothing really much more to say about Mesprit. It's just an absolute battering ram. And if I can get it in, something's taking a big old hit. Yeah, that's Mesprit. It's pretty much just there, much with Blaziken, to dish out massive damage. Now, you will notice that those are 2 base 80 mons, and I've gone Adamant and Modest respectively. Now, Necro doesn't have the fastest team in the world. In fact, he pretty much has the slowest. I think his fastest thing is Chandelure, sitting at base, is that 80? I think it might be base 80, so it speed ties with my 2. In fact, it actually outspeeds my Mesprit because I don't have perfect EVs because of the nature of having Hidden Power Fire. Oh no, he's got Zygarde at base 95, that's the one. So these 2 things, there are a few things that might outspeed it, especially if he's got some Scarfers going on. Predominant among them would be Chandelure, Pangoro, maybe the Rotom Wash. So, we have to fix that in some way, shape or form, and that is going to come in the form of the 3rd member of this team. That's going to be Mega-Scizor. Mega-Scizor once again is going to be here in much of a supporting role, with of course the Scissorite Technician, of course. We've got Bullet Punch, Bug Bite, and Agility and Baton Pass. 44 HP, max attack, adamant, 212 in speed. Yeah, that's going to be allowing me to outspeed. There was definitely something I could outspeed that I thought he might want to bring. His own Scizor. You know, Mega-Scizor can outspeed it because I think it gets a bit of a speed boost. And obviously once with an agility up, I'm going to be outspeeding a lot more things on what is a very slow draft. This guy is mainly here to pass an agility into either of the 2 previously mentioned Pokemon, Blaziken or Mesprit, because once I get those 2 up to +2 speed, things are going to drop very quickly. With the coverage and power that those 2 have got, things are going to go down, especially with the amount of coverage I have on those 2 to hit so many things super effectively, or at least just deal massive damage to them. And you know, Mega-Scizor is no slouch itself. I am max invested in attack, I do have Bullet Punch, I do have Bug Bite. And they will do big damage to a lot of things on his team. You know, the Scizor it won't do much to, but ideally, Scizor is my opportunity to set up and pass. Chandelure, I can't be doing much to, but I have ways and means around Chandelure, hopefully. Yeah, Zygarde will take some hits, Rotom probably as well if he's bringing a defensive set. Caracosta too, but you know, these are things I want to be sort of not dealing with Scizor. Scizor has a few things that it can set up on, a few things that hopefully it will set up on, and then I can pass into one of my threats and start dealing big damage to his team. So again, not much more to say on that. That's Scizor. It can deal some damage, but it's mainly there to support the previous 2 attacking mons. So with that being said, that's Scizor out of the way, and we need to get into some defense now, because whilst Necro's team is slow and fairly vulnerable to agility pass into my 2 offensive mons, you know, with that slow speed comes a lot of power. You've got the likes of Slowking, Pangoro, Rotom Wash, Caracosta, even Scizor, Clefable, Mega. So many things on his team are slow and powerful. Thankfully, I believe he only has 1 Trick Room setter in the form of Slowking, so if I can shut that thing down, we should be in a good place. But it's time to get on to some defensive mons, and 4th on the team is going to be one of those, and that is going to be Weezing. Pork and Beans is going to be a very defensive set here. We've got the Black Sludge, we've got Sludge Bomb, Flamethrower, Hidden Power Ice, and Toxic Spikes. Max HP, 212 in defense with that bold nature. 44 EVs, they're going to go into speed. So, what are we looking at here? Nice to have Weezing there. It pretty much walls any given form of Scizor. and I can flamethrower back and do big old damage to it. If he's not invested, I actually think I outspeed it. Those 44 EVs in speed will, I believe, allow me to outspeed a non-invested Scizor, and I can't see him bringing too much speed on it. You know, Scizor doesn't usually tend to run speed, mine is, and I've done that a fair amount this season, but in general you're looking at bulky attacking because it doesn't really need the speed when it's got that powerful bullet punch. If it can set up a Swords Dance, definitely doesn't need speed. You know, we've got Sludge Bomb there for the Clefable. I've had problems with fairies this season, I'm not making that mistake again. So we've got Sludge Bomb there on the Weezing, that'll hit the Clefable very hard. Flamethrower, as I say, for the Scizor. I'm packing a lot of fire offense on this team, I'm expecting Scizor. Mega Abomasnow is always an option. Hidden Power Ice is on there. I'm a bit afraid of the Zygarde. At the very least, I want to be able to break a potential sub on it. That's why we've got Hidden Power Ice. I don't need too much investment on a quite effective hit to be able to break a Zygarde sub. If he is sub, I'm expecting him to be quick and powerful and not particularly invested in HP. He might have enough to outspeed Scarfed, Blaziken or Mesprit, but Hidden Power Ice should be breaking the sub. Toxic Spikes, they're going to be very, very useful indeed. You know, Necro's team, he has the Scizor, which is his only form of hazard removal, and he has the Rotom Wash, and everything else, barring the Magic Guard Clefable, is very much affected by Toxic Spikes. So it's time to bring them, it's time to hopefully get them set up as early as possible. And yeah, that will get me some nice chip damage going over. If I can get 2 layers up, that would be ideal for taking down the likes of Slowking and kind of cutting short whatever Zygarde can do. That would be really nice. If I can get if I can get 2 layers of Toxic Spikes up before the Slowking comes in, I'll be really happy. Because a regular poison on Slowking actually isn't that useful, especially if it's not assault vested. If it has the slack off, obviously it's got the regenerator, but if it's got the slack off as well, you know, regular amounts of poison over time, they're not going to even be doing that much. You really want that to build and build and build on a Pokemon like Slowking, which is why we're going to hopefully get up 2 layers as soon as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much all to say on Weezing. It's utterly walled by Chandelure, but we ain't staying in on Chandelure, not a chance. It's also entirely walled by all his water types. But we should have ways around the water types, and hopefully be able to nuke them fairly effectively. So that's Weezing, defensive, take hits from Scizor, possibly even take hits from Pangoro. I don't particularly want to be taking a Mold Breaker Earthquake, but we might be able to take one, especially if he is like Jolly, and maybe Scarf, you never know. Scarf Pangoro, we've seen weirder. Scarf Pangoro is actually a pretty good thing. But yeah, Weezing is there to take hits, get up the Toxic Spikes, and kind of act as fodder from there on in. But it will do it effectively, and hopefully it can get off maybe 1 or 2 hits before going down. So that is Weezing, nice and physically defensive. Yeah, not much more to say. So, with that being said, let's move on to the 5th member of the team. That is going to be my Sylveon. I'm bringing back Sylveon. We've got another Fizz Deathmorn here. We've got 244 HP, 248 defense, 12 into special defense. Hyper Voice, Hidden Power Fire, Shadow Ball, and Wish. We have got the Berry as the item. He's got Scizor. He will probably be bringing it. He's not going to make the same mistake I've done against the likes of Jax Florges and not bring my Scizor to the battle. He doesn't have too much more in his team, to be honest, that wants to take on a Sylveon. Scizor is pretty much one of his few ways of doing that, barring like Gunk Shot on Pangoro, but that's unreliable, and I will Oko him with a Hyper Voice if I live that hit. So yeah, Hyper Voice, it's doing massive damage to most things. Hidden Power Fire, once again, it's there for the ever-present Scizor and the potential Mega Abomasnow. Shadow Ball, that's hitting Chandelure, that's hitting Slowking. Most other things will be hit very super effective, or very powerfully by Hyper Voice. As I say, Berry is there to take a bullet punch from the Scizor and hit back with a Hidden Power Fire and hopefully take that thing out. Wish, nice for the team support, you know. For example, if I take big damage on Scizor, passing an agility into something, and I then do it again, I can try and get a Wish into said Scizor, and try and work once again, get the agility into something else. So that is Sylveon, physically defensive, taking those hits, ideally from Pangoro, which hopefully I should be able to do, unless he's packing the Gunk Shot, which I might not take, depending on his spread and item. But yeah, Sylveon, hopefully be putting in some work here. You don't need to be invested in special attack for Hyper Voice to do massive damage. So with that out of the way, it's time for some special defense. It's time for some very special defense. Because 6th member of the team, the returning hero, you've been waiting for it, it's Noctowl. Noctowl is back. Sophos making his 3rd appearance, technically his 2nd. We've got a leftovers tinted lens set here. 248 HP, 8 special attack, max special defense. Is that calm or is that careful? That's calm. We've got Shadow Ball, Heat Wave, Roost, and Toxic on here. Shadow Ball and Heat Wave, again, no stab on this guy. They'll hit most things at least neutrally. I don't think there's anything that will take both of those resisted. In fact, there is not. Heat Wave, necessary. Roost, very much necessary on a defensive Noctowl. You want to be able to get your health back. Toxic. Now, as you know, I'm packing Toxic Spikes on my Weezing, so why am I packing Toxic on my Noctowl? Well, I personally believe that his chief switch into this guy is going to be the Rotom Wash. If I can get this Noctowl in safely, I very much believe his switch is going to be Rotom Wash. If I can get a Toxic on that, that's going to be the only way of doing it, because of course Rotom Wash is immune to Toxic Spikes. If I can get a Toxic onto that Rotom Wash, we're going to be looking in a really nice position to wear it down. Plus the fact that Noctowl will take hits from Rotom Wash, even if it's a Thunderbolt. It's also very nice at taking hits from Chandelure, which I don't have a huge amount for on my team. You know, Jellicent doesn't want to be taking a Shadow Ball. Crocodile doesn't want to be taking most fire hits. Various of my defensive mons don't want to be taking too many hits from it. Weezing won't take too many hits. Kabutops, it gets Energy Ball for coverage on that. So realistically, Noctowl is going to be my best bet against that Chandelure, at least until I can get some chip damage on it and bring in something to revenge. So yeah, that's Noctowl. There to kind of try and deal with Chandelure, and that pretty much is going to be the team. So, biggest threats on his side of the field. He has a lot of them. I've mentioned many of them. Honourable shoutouts to Pangoro and to Zygarde. But realistically, the two things I'm actually most afraid of on his team are Chandelure and Caracosta. If his Caracosta can get up a Shell Smash, I'm looking in a fairly bad position. And I have to rely on taking a hit with my Pasha Berry on Blaziken and hoping to take it out with High Jump Kick. And if he's got Sturdy and I don't have Toxic Spikes up, I'm going to have to let Blaziken go down and then take him out with a Bullet Punch from Scizor, whilst taking an Aqua Jet in the process, which he will more than likely go for in that scenario. Now Chandelure, excuse me, is a different kettle of fish, simply because I don't really have too many switch-ins into it. Noctowl is the only one that really wants to take a hit per se, and even then it doesn't. If it's going to be like a Specs Chandelure, it's still going to be doing massive damage. So, sorry, I've got a really bad cough. Chandelure is going to be something we have to deal with over time. I just need to sort of bank on, Noctowl taking hits here and there. Sylveon maybe, using its natural special bulk to do the same thing. So, those are his threats as far as things I was expecting him to bring are concerned. Looking down his team, Clefable I felt like he would want to bring. Clefable is always a threat. It can always do something to a team. So I was expecting to see Clefable. Scizor, another one I was very much expecting to see as his only way of dealing with my own fairy in the form of Sylveon. Mega Abomasnow I did not think he would be bringing. I thought for the final week he would not want to. I have too many things that can deal with it. So I wasn't expecting to see Mega Abomasnow. Chandelure, on the other hand, I was very much expecting to see. As I've mentioned, it can take the dual stabs from Blaziken very well indeed, immune to both of them, and it's a powerful threat on his team. Now, as for the rest of them, Slowking, Rotom Wash, and Caracosta, I did not expect to see him bringing all of them. If I was going to pick two, which I think he would bring two, it would be the Slowking and the Rotom Wash, would be the things I would expect. Both can take a hit from Blaziken, both can take hits all over the place, to be honest. And he will want the Rotom Wash certainly to be getting initiative, because I don't think that my electric immunity in the form of Crocodile has a particularly good matchup against his team, so he'll be free to Volt Switch with impunity with the Rotom Wash. So those two. Final one on the team, I was expecting to see Pangoro. So one of the big threats on his team I actually wasn't quite expecting him to bring. Caracosta, it could be a massive threat, but I wasn't actually expecting to see it, if you see what I mean. I was afraid of it, and I was very much hoping he wouldn't bring it. So yeah, the six I was expecting to see actually were Clefable, the Scizor, Chandelure, Slowking, Pangoro, and the Rotom Wash. those were what I kind of expected to see on his team, within the back of my mind, Carracosta still being one of his biggest threats. So, that is pretty much going to wrap things up from this video, so thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. I think this is a little bit shorter than the usual ones, maybe sort of around a similar time. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap it up, as I say. Look out for the pre-game entertainment, that will hopefully be coming up tomorrow. And the game will hopefully be happening shortly after that. And by when I say happening, I mean going up on the channel. So keep your eyes peeled for those videos. They'll be coming your way hopefully very soon. But I am going to get out of here. I have rambled on for long enough. So my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.